Hello. Let's turn this down. Hey y'all, welcome to Rubber Duck Thursdays. I am Kadesha. So happy that you're here with me. Hello, hello, hello. So we have quite a few people here, which is great. Shay, sorry I missed last week, had a job interview. That's okay. I hope the job interview goes well. Fingers crossed and crisscrossed for you there. What y'all been up to? You know, it's Thursday. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Richmond, Germany, India is joining us, which is amazing. I have a really good stream lined up for you. At least I think it's going to be really good. And as you know, we have a lot of fun on this stream. It's a very chill stream where we just hack, we build stuff, we have fun, I answer your questions and all that jazz. It went great. I start next week. Yay! Shout out to Shads for getting a job in this very tough market. Congratulations. I'm super happy to hear that it went well. So let's just jump right in, right? Let's just jump right in. So this week or on this stream, I really want to build a CLI tool. So we've been working internally to try to figure out how to scale these Robotic Thursday streams, where we want to take our videos and we want to convert it into blog posts, short form, all that jazz. And we're kind of looking for a way to streamline that process. Now, the first part of that process is creating blog posts, right? And so to create blog posts, we need to give a model or an agent examples of our writing. And to do that, so like I have a lot of writing, for example, on the GitHub blog, but it's not in Markdown. So I want to build a CLI tool that will take a link from any blog site. So like whether that site is built with WordPress, Astro, regular HTML, CSS, any blog site, I want to give it a link to that blog post, and I want the blog post to be converted into Markdown so I can feed it to my LLM to create a custom writer situation for me. Hopefully that makes sense. Let me know if that made sense. Also, let me turn off this music because I tend to get distracted by the music because I just love it so much. So that's what I'm hoping to build today. And we're absolutely going to be attempting to build it with agent mode, lean into the vibes with vibe coding. So let's get into it, right? And as I go, let me know if you have questions. This should be a really good stream. So I'm just going to pop this over here onto my second monitor and let's dig in. So the first thing I want to tell you about is we are back with the GitHub podcast. So I don't know if you remember, but we had a podcast called the Read Me Podcast, very popular podcast. But we had to take a break from it due to bandwidth and just not having the time, to give it the proper focus that it needed. But we recently relaunched the podcast as the GitHub podcast, where I am one of the hosts along with Cassidy and Abby and also Andrea Griffiths. And so let me just have you listen to this. I don't know if you're going to be able to hear the sound, but I'm just going to play it and see what happens. Let's see. Great. So that's the GitHub podcast. A little teaser is available here. I'm going to drop the link in the comments. Boop. I actually think there's a short link, but I'm not 100% sure. Let me test it out over here. 1 second. No, I don't remember the short link, but this is the link here to check out the GitHub podcast. No sound? Can't hear. Oh, what happened to my sound? My mic isn't muted. This isn't muted. Can you hear me? Just let me know. Let me edit the mic settings. It looks like things are working. I see the little green dots here. Please let me know if you can hear me. Sound works on YouTube. Do let me know if it works on LinkedIn. Oh, a podcast really new. So yes, it's like old but new. We're reviving the Read Me podcast, but rebranded as the GitHub podcast. And on the GitHub podcast, we'll be talking about trends, stories, and culture in and around open source, hosted by Cassidy Williams, Abby, Kadesha Kerr, and Andrea Griffith. So you can check out the GitHub podcast at that link that I shared earlier here to learn more. Okay, so we can hear you fine. Okay, great. Okay, great. Oh, no sound from the podcast. Okay, got you, got you. Well, you can go to the GitHub social media page on LinkedIn to see that post, but should be pretty good, right? Something else I wanted to show you was on the GitHub blog. So I like going to the GitHub blog to see what we've recently shipped. And lo and behold, we have two amazing blog posts that I want to make sure that you check out. Let me zoom in a little bit. So the first one is going to be a practical guide on how to use the GitHub MCP server. So if you didn't know, GitHub now has Now, GitHub recently launched a MCP Docker image to GitHub hosted MCP server to automate pull requests, continuous integration, and security triages. No tokens required. So we have a hosted server somewhere where you don't need to install anything. It's really, really good. And Andrea did an excellent write up on how to use it. And there's also a video where we spoke with someone on how to use it. So definitely check out this blog post if you haven't used the GitHub MCP server yet. Definitely go to the GitHub blog, and it's going to be one of the first blog posts right there for you to take a dig into. The next blog post I was excited to see was this one by Christopher that actually just went out right before we came on stream. Onboarding your AI peer programmer, setting up GitHub Copilot coding agent for success. Love this. So Copilot coding agent is still relatively new. So this blog post will teach you how to set it up for your team, for yourself, and how you can start digging into it to get the most out of Copilot coding agent. So definitely check out this blog post as well. Great write-up by Christopher here. Another blog post that I found really interesting this week is under the engineering tag, and it was how GitHub engineers tackle platform problems. Wow. So this is a GitHub software engineer sharing best practices for quickly identifying, resolving, and preventing issues at scale. Really, really good read. So make sure you also go dig into that as well. Honestly, the GitHub blog is filled with so many goodies. I just really, really like reading the GitHub blog. So let's take a look at the change log to see what's been some recent happenings. And then we're going to jump into the code because I see 12 minutes has already passed, which is crazy. So what did we release? NPM trusted publishing with OIDC is generally available. Expanded public preview for improved repository creation experience. Great. Improvement to the Copilot coding agent custom setup steps. More improvements to Copilot coding agent. Managing dependabot alerts. So quite a few things have shipped out since our chat last week. So definitely check out the change log for those. Now, last week I spoke about For the Love of Code, which is our summer hackathon that's still going on. So you have a chance to have some street cred and win some prizes by entering the hackathon. And there are so many categories that you can code in. So it runs until September 22nd. So there's still time to submit in one of these categories. So button beeps and blinking lights, agents of change, terminal talent, game on. So these are all different categories that you can submit a project for. And so today I wanted to build an application that fit within the terminal talent section. And so earlier I was telling you that I needed to convert my blog post to Markdown. And so I just want to build a quick CLI tool to help me do that. So for example, if I come here under developer skills, I think if I go to GitHub, maybe my name will pop up soon. Right here, Kadesha Kerr. So I have quite a few blog posts on the GitHub blog. So I want to be able to do this. I want to be able to click on this link, and I just want to do something like a fetch and then paste the link. And I want my CLI tool to be able to grab the content from this blog post and automatically convert it to Markdown. So I went ahead and I wrote up the MVP for this application here. So the problem is I need to convert blog posts to Markdown format. Would love to do this by submitting a URL to a post online via command line, right? So let's dig into building this CLI tool. Let me know if you're still with me by saying something in the comments or let's go, let's build, let's hack. I don't know. And so I'm going to call it BlogMark. And the goal is to publish it as an NPM package. So hopefully, this can get done pretty quickly. So this is going to be the prompt I'm going to send to Copilot here. So let's just comb through what I already wrote down, right? So the prompt is going to be build a Node.js CLI tool called BlogMark that converts web blog posts to Markdown files with front matter. So the requirements are going to be core functionality, fetch the HTML content from any blog URL, extract the main article content, convert it to like HTML, and then convert that HTML to clean Markdown, and then generate files with YAML front matter. So it's going to have a title, date, author, tags, URL, and then save the output directory, save the converted blog post to an output directory with sanitized file names. So pretty straightforward. I wanted to make sure that I told the agent exactly what I need to get done. And so when you're building with any LLM tool, and when you're building with Copilot, specifically Copilot agent mode, you want to make sure that you tell the tool what you want, right? You want to make sure you sit down and you think, okay, how do I want this to function? What do I want it to look like? And what technology do I want to use? What's tech stack do I want to use? And you want to make sure that you tell the tool this. So the next thing here, I'm said, okay, so this is what I want the CLI interface to look like. And this is the tool I want you to use to create that CLI interface. So Commander.js is a Node.js command line to make interfaces easier, right? So I want agent mode to use the Commander library to build this really quickly. So I have everything linked here. So this is kind of how I want it to be. So I want to type blogmark, fetch, and then the URL, and then it converts it to a markdown file, right? I also want an interactive mode where I can type like blogmark interactive, and then the interactive mode is activated, so I can just type fetch URL, right? And I want it to also have these paths and output and params. Great, let's go. Let's hack. Exactly. That's the energy I'm trying to get. Right. So technical specifications, I wanted to use Axios and Cheerio, turn down. All this is here to let the LLM know exactly what I want so that my output from the agent is going to look like exactly what I want. Context is king. Remember that. Context is always king when you're building with AI tools. So this is kind of what I want the output to look like in Markdown. So this is going to be the front matter, and then the converted Markdown content is going to be here. Package configuration, key implementation details. So I wanted to sanitize file names. I wanted to use 10-second HTTP timeout, and I wanted to have an interactive mode, right? All these things are converted. So I wanted to just be like a single class block converter with a few methods to get this done. It's not a very complicated tool. So let's see what agent mode can do, right? So I'm going to open up my code editor and let's start working. I'm just going to make this full screen so I can navigate easier. Boop, boop, boop. Great. So here, let me show you the files I have. So here I have the output folder. I have an empty block converter.js file, an empty CLI.js file. I have my npm get ignore already set up, and I have my get ignore already set up. I have a pretty bare bones package.json, and I have just like nothing in the README, but I also have a README. So this is the starting point of what we're working with. So I want to this document is too technical for someone who would be doing vibe coding. So this is an excellent comment because vibe coding is essentially giving into the vibes and allowing the AI tool to build your product for you, right? But to get the most out of vibe coding, you do need to have what's called a product requirement doc, which is essentially what this is, right? So a product requirement doc details exactly what you want to build and how you want it to be implemented. And you can, a person that's non-technical can use AI to create a PR, a product requirement doc for them so that when they start building, it's a lot easier. So I would argue that this is a really good way to get the most out of vibe coding, and not that this document is too technical for someone who would be doing vibe coding, because as a technical person, I vibe code all the time and I see technical people vibe coding all the time, but this is just a really good setup when you're doing vibe coding to get the most out of the tool, because the more context you give an AI tool, the better your output will be. I see someone says no sound, Sean. I'm not sure. Everything is looking good on my end, so I'm just going to keep going. Let me know if anyone else can't hear me. And we're gonna continue here. All right. So hopefully that makes sense, right? So to get the most out of vibe coding, you need to provide as much context as possible. So even if you're vibe coding, you can still create a PRD. You know what I mean? Especially if you want it to be as solid, like a product that you want to ship, you kind of have to do a lot of some thinking upfront. So what I want to do is I'm going to copy this entire thing and I'm going to add it as a prompt file in VS Code. So this is a really cool feature of VS Code where you can create an executable prompt file for Copilot agent mode. So I'm going to click the settings button. I'm going to hit prompt file, new prompt file, and I'm going to call it like spec. That's all I'm going to call it. Right? And so here you see like the mode. So it's not going to be ask mode, it's going to be agent mode. And then there's going to be I can add a description. I don't want it to be that long. I just want it to be like build. I'm just going to say build the MVP. That's all I'm going to say. Why are there squigglies? And then here is where I'm going to paste that spec that I created earlier. And now this file is going to be completely executable. This needs to be formatted, doesn't it? I'm just going to leave it. I can't be bothered with playing with formatting right now. Here I go. So I can't be bothered playing with formatting, and I'm still playing with formatting. Converted markdown content. That's where it ends. All right. So I have a spec file here, and this is a really great way to have an executable file. So now that I have this executable file, I can actually just come here. There should be like a, yeah, I can click on, I was like, there should be a play button somewhere. So I can click on this play button here, and it's going to run the prompt in a new chat window. So I'm in agent mode and I have Claude Sonnet 4 going. So if I hit this play button, it's going to send it to Copilot agent mode to follow instructions in spec.prompt.md. And now it's going to go ahead and start building BlogMark. Did you know you could do that? Did you know you could create executable files, prompt files in VS Code to use with Copilot? Format is life, yes. I agree that the more specifications in the doc, the better the output. Exactly. It's literally the whole point of context engineering, the new term that's floating around. It's context is king. So if you want to build a product, you really need to sit down and figure out what do I want this to look like and how do I want it to function, write that out and have a code, have you can even use Copilot. You can use Copilot on .com to help you to really flesh out a product requirement doc before you start coding, because you'll definitely have much better results. Okay, so right here you can see the agent started working. So it's updated our package JSON. Keywords, dependencies, Axios, Cheerio, Commander, turn down, JSYAML. Okay, JSYAML. We don't have any scripts yet, but sure. Great, yeah. Starting to look good. So block converter.js, it looks like it's already created the singular class that I requested here. All right, looks like it wants to run npm install. It's actually working really quickly. Let me allow it to finish and then we can take a look at what it's built. It's updated the git ignore. It's updated CLI.js, which is going to be the main script here that's going to use the block converter class. So right now it's running these terminal commands just to check the output of the work. And my terminal is on this side. Um, so now we have a package lock because it just installed all dependencies. While it's building, does the agent mode work with branches in the repo for product? While it's building, does agent mode work with branches in the repository for a product? If you mean, can you clarify what you mean? So I'm going to tell you what I understood from your question. So are you asking me if we're able to create branches when using agent mode, like create branches with Git when using agent mode? Is that your question? Because if so, absolutely. Because right now I'm on the init branch here. I created a branch earlier. So right now I'm on the init branch, not the main branch. And you can definitely build on separate branches using agent mode. And then once you're finished with the work on that specific branch, you push it up and then create a new branch. You push it up, review it, merge it to main, pull down main to your local, and then create a new branch and keep working that way. Is that what you're asking? Awesome. Yeah. So yes, you're definitely able to use Git with agent mode. And using Git when vibe coding or using any LLM tool, important. Don't forget to do it. And also don't forget to stage and commit as you go. All right. So it looks like it tested its implementation and it's failed. I really like how these error messages are turned out. And that's exactly what I asked it to do. So now it's going to do some more tests while it's going. Okay. So why isn't it working well on the app as the web? Can you please explain what you mean? I'm not sure I understand your question. Please ask again. All right, great. The output directory exists and is empty as expected. Let me also create a simple test script to validate the tools work properly. Okay, Copilot. Let's actually take a look at the code while it's going. It's gonna run some tests here. So it's like testing, making sure that the work is validated. I did forget to put remember to breathe and go step by step. I find that whenever I do that, I also get really good output from the agent. Sorry if it is out of topic. It's I don't believe it's out of topic. I just didn't understand your question. If you could rephrase your question, that would be very helpful. So, will agent mode create branches or commits on its own while building? Hmm. In my experience, no, but there is the GitHub MCP server that you can use as a tool with agent mode, and you can ask it to create branches for you while you're working. So it won't automatically do it for you. The expectation is that you as the developer or the builder is using Git and making sure that your work is versioned appropriately. But if you connect the GitHub MCP server to agent mode, it will be able to create branches for you. It will be able to push for you, create repositories. It's actually really powerful. Maybe next week I can do a full episode on how to use GitHub's MCP server when you're building your applications. I'll make a note of that. Okay, so when I was using the app to test code and do project, but I quit, I found it difficult. So when you were using Copilot agent mode, you found it difficult to use. Is that what you were saying? Sorry, I'm still not understanding. I don't think it would create the branch. It would be full autonomy for sure, but you can give it permission to create branches for you. It's still going. Let me run one final test to verify all commands work. Any other questions? Let me know. I'm happy to answer while it's going. Great. Look, okay. So it looks like it says that core functionality is finished. So let's take a look at what it's built here. Alrighty. So I'm just going to hit keep to keep everything that it did. And according to Copilot agent mode, let's see what it did. So successfully built BlogMark CLI tool according to all specifications in the prompt file. It says that it did all the core functionality I requested, the CLI interface, so I can type BlogMark fetch URL to convert single URL out, da da da. Okay, so it used all these things. Did sanitization, graceful with emoji messages, package configuration, key features here. Okay, so it also like spit out the project structure for us so we can see that. Testing, basic test, npm test, validates core functionality, npm run example, create sample markdown file. This tool is ready for production use and can be installed globally. Okay, so let's see how we can test this. Let me see if there are any updated scripts in. Yep. So there's a test script, example script, start, global install, global on install. Okay. I think these two scripts are unnecessary, but let's try running npm start and see what happens. So I have my terminal here. So if I run, it's already installed. So if I run npm start, okay. Blogmark start node CLI.js usage blogmark options command convert files of front matter. Da 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 da. What about the interactive? Let me ask it. Oh, questions. Okay. Explain your setup. We'll explain the setup again in a few moments. So I need to run npm tests. Okay. How can we prevent AI agent from getting hallucinated when doing vibe coding? Yes. So it's a matter of grounding, right? And grounding essentially means providing AI with as much information as possible. So, for example, before I built this CLI tool that I'm going to be testing soon, before I built this tool, I provided the agent with very detailed instructions. So if I go back to the doc where it's just easier to see here, you can see that I said I want you to build a Node.js CLI tool called Blogmark, and here are the requirements. I gave it core functionality requirements. I gave it how I wanted the CLI interface to function. I gave it some technical specifications. And I also gave it the output format that I wanted. So, like how I wanted the app to actually function, package configuration settings, key implementation details. So I gave it a lot of context before I started building. And I also set up the project in a way that I wanted it to be set up instead of relying on the tool to do it for me. You can also implement a lot of different rack patterns and use a lot of different grounding tools. I know that Microsoft has some tools that you can use to prevent hallucinations and hallucinated code from AI, but it's all a matter of making sure that you're providing as much context as possible, especially if you're starting from scratch with something. Does testing allow to check functionality? I found that Copilot would prompt me to check this myself. I was wondering if I was being developed. Can you ask me that again? Does testing allow to check functionality? Ask me that question again. I'm not quite sure I understand what you're saying. So if I do npm test, okay, so I have to do this. Hmm. I wish it was a different way to test it, but and then let me grab an actual blog link. So for example, this one here. So if I grab this blog link, do you think it's going to work? Oh, okay. So it says something was saved into the output folder. So let's check. GitHub for beginners. Okay, so it's a start, right? So this is just my bio, but you can see that the front matter is here. So I'm gonna go into agent mode and just let it know that the actual content wasn't fetched here, so it can figure that out. But pretty good, right? What do you think? Like something actually happened here, which is really cool. Okay, so I'm gonna come in here and I'm going to say, okay, so the the markdown blog post. What am I trying to say? I'm trying to say the tool didn't fetch the entire content on the page. The actual blog post is not there. Here is I'm gonna say like, here is an example URL blog that you can test with. And I'm gonna say like fetch. If you do fetch and then paste a link, Copilot agent mode would actually go out and fetch that link so it can see the content. So I'm gonna pop that in and then it's gonna go ahead and do some more work. Things are happening. I know, right, Sean? That's pretty cool. So I want to see if we can get this done by in like 20 minutes. Let's see. Let's see. Does the AI test to check if something like, say, a button was functioning correctly, or would the developer have to test this themselves? Gotcha. So you would have to test it yourself, or you would have to explicitly tell your like Copilot agent mode to create tests to test the functionality of the button. So if you wrote a component like a button component and you want to test it on the UI, Copilot cannot test on the UI, the actual UI, right? Like the web with the web browser. But if you write a button component and you want to test it in your editor, you can definitely ask GitHub Copilot to say, hey, can you write a test to ensure that this button functions as expected? However, if you have some Copilot instructions, you can instruct it to write tests for each component that it builds or for each file or function or method that it creates. That is something that you can also include in Copilot instructions. And I can show you how to automatically generate Copilot instructions as I need to generate some for this project here. So let's see where we are. Let's see where we are here. So listen to the first episode of the podcast. Cool stuff. It does strike me there's no male voice in there. Girl power, huh? Yes, some of our guests are male. Um, but girl power indeed. We definitely need more women in tech. We are so underrepresented in the industry. So yay us, girl power for sure. Interesting comments. All right, so let's see what let's see what agent mode is doing. Hopefully it's not doing too much. Sometimes LLMs have a tendency to just run, run and run and run. Okay. So it actually went here and it fetched here. It fetched the content I see the issue. The tool successfully fetched the page, but didn't extract the main blog content, right? It only got the author bio section. Let me fetch the web page to analyze the HTML structure and then fix the content extraction logic. Amazing. So it went to the example blog post and it's like, oh, great. I only fetched the bio for the author. Let me go ahead and do the actual extraction of the main content. The GitHub blog uses a different HTML structure than what our current selectors are targeting. Great. So it went into block converter, made some changes here. You can see it here. Let's take a look. So it's removed. Okay. So it added related posts, more posts, newsletter, sign up, explore more, dot remove. So it's removing additional things from the content. And then it updated the selectors to include post content, main article, post content, post content. So these are like WordPress specific things that it included. This is for Medium, generic fallbacks, awesome. So it went in and it made some updates to fetch the actual content from, let's say, like a WordPress blog, because GitHub uses WordPress. Okay. Okay. It's doing some tests to see if it's actually working. Excellent. Okay, let me see if there are any more questions. Joined late, but I really love how you showed us a concrete example of specs, requirements, and desired output that you provided the agent. Very insightful. Yeah, it's so important to do a spec doc because what I see online is people are building with the Copilot agent mode, and then they come to the conclusion that it's not good, it's not working. But when I take a look at the work that they've done, they're not providing enough context to the LLM, right? They're not providing enough context to the tool for the tool to be able to be as successful as it can be. And sometimes they don't know what they want their product to look like. So you have to know what you want your product to look like to get successful outputs from any AI agent, okay? So make sure that you're taking some time to think about what you want things to look like. Cool, this is very good. I know. So let's take a look at what it's done. Okay. So, and I really love seeing how GitHub Copilot works, right? So the first thing it did up here, I'm just going to go back up here. I said the tool didn't fetch the entire content, and then I provided an example blog post. So it went and fetched the example blog post here. You can see it's using that fetch command that I did here to fetch it from the web. Then it's like, I see the issue very like enthusiastically. And then it went ahead and it read the block converted.js file. Then it made updates after reading the file. Then it read the block converted.js file again, but different lines. And then it made update to extract the content extraction logic, update the content extraction logic, I should say, sorry. Then it updated some statements, did some cleanups, and then it went ahead and tested the improved version of fetching that GitHub blog. Once it did that, it provided a summary of everything that it's done, and then it told us that they're built in text, and I can run the example like that, like so. And if I want to test it with real URLs, now it finally told me how to do that. Node CLI.js fetch, da 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 da, right? Interactive mode testing, node CLI.js interactive. Okay, I'm going to test this one. So let's test both. Let's test both and see. So let me just exit there so I can just bring up my terminal. All right, so let's try this again. Actually, let me hit keep to keep everything because we're just leaning into the vibes. We're leaning into the vibes. And so we're going to fetch that first article that we tried to fetch earlier. Alrighty. It looks like it saved it to the output folder here. Would you look at that? Round of applause, people. We have our blog post in Markdown format. So if I let me open this up so you can see the and actually now I can do some cleanup. So let me remove here to do some cleanups here. And now we have a blog post, including the assets. Isn't that amazing? So now I can, convert all my blog posts to Markdown by using the CLI tool pretty easily. Very, very excited. Very excited. Okay, so let's see the formatting. It even got like the formatting right here. What's this? Refactor. This is an image. All right, so this image didn't come over pretty well. Let's see why. I think it's missing a is it just that? Probably missing the exclamation point and everything, but this is a link here. There, best practices, and boom. So let's test another link. I'm gonna test another GitHub blog post link, and then we can test some other goodies. Let me just minimize this. Okay, so let's go back to Kadesha, and I want to test one that has a bit more like images or a bit more assets. GitHub for Beginners. If you didn't know, GitHub for Beginners is a series where I teach developers like new to GitHub how to use GitHub. And the last one that we did is the last season was how to use GitHub Copilot. But here we go, using Copilot in your IDE, tips, tricks, and best practices. So let's test this one. I'm gonna pull it up. And what is it? npm cli.js fetch. Okay. npm cli.js fetch unknown command cli.js. Isn't that what it is? Node, not npm. npm node, same difference, huh? But I guess not. Okay. So let's go back here. Let's go to output. And I love that it's saving each blog post as a different file. Love that. And there we go again. It has extracted the file. Please give GitHub Copilot Agent Mode a round of applause. Whoa! Okay. Let me see what the because I believe this blog post has a bit more. Yeah, there's like video, there are images. So like, let's see what it looks like over here. It's not really loading the content, so that's something I can go in and say ensure that. Okay, it loaded this one. It loaded this one. All right. I can work with that. I will say this has been a success. But I noticed something. So I believe this is a table here, right? I believe this is a table. Let's go back to the blog post and see. Yep, this is a table. And so the table didn't really convert properly here. So I'm going to have agent mode. I'm going to have the agent fix that, but let's say like I'm okay. Let's say like I'm just like, oh, this is great because I didn't have to actually do it myself. I can highlight this entire thing, right? And then I can just have regular Copilot um just like fix it in a table. So I can say update this to be a markdown table. Sometimes when I'm like streaming, it's like I can't think. My brain was like, wait, what are we doing again? Okay. And so this is going to transform it into a markdown table for us. But I would love for the CLI tool to automatically do that for us. You know what I mean? And there we go. So this is now a table. Boom. And still a lot faster than me having to do it manually. So now we have a properly formatted table, right? I would call this a success, right? I would say this has been a success. um, so the tool is working. So let's test the interactive mode. Let's test the interactive mode to see if that works. So I think it's node CLI.js interactive. So node CLI.js interactive. And so now I should be able to just type fetch and just pop in a URL. So I'm going to go to my personal blog, even though this is a cheat code because my blog is an Astro blog and it is markdown here. But let's see. So I'm going to copy this. If you have a blog, send me one of your blog links so I can test it with one of your blog links here. Okay, so it looks like that's saved. So let's take a look at it. What are AI agents.md? Great. And yeah, I would say this tool is working, guys. Like we just built a we just built a CLI tool. I'm not sure if this is something that you would use, but as someone that creates a lot of content, this is so helpful for me because now I can feed this markdown to any LLM, any agent to create my own custom like writing assistant person that follows like my writing style and all that jazz. Looks like it's working. We did it. Automagic will now be in my vocabulary. Good. Hang with me a lot. And yeah, automagic will definitely be in your vocabulary because I say it quite often. Especially when I think about these AI tools, I'm like, wow, it's incredible. It's an incredible time to be a developer. So now I actually want to ship this to I actually want to ship it to the NPM store. But let's see if it's even ready to be shipped to the NPM store, right? I'll probably do that off camera cuz I need to actually take a look at the code to make sure that it's good. It's decent. You know what I mean? Like it's working, but is it good? Um and I can get an initial review here from Copilot. So like I can come here. Let's take a look at this class, for example. So like I can highlight this and like let's say let's highlight. Let me find one. Okay, so let's highlight this one function here. And I can get a review right here off the code. The error message includes an emoji, which may not be appropriate for all logging environments. Consider using plain text for. I want to keep it though. I would like to keep the emoji. So I'm going to discard that review. And so you can get an initial review of your code right here, right? So let's highlight another one. This is the main extract main content function. So I'm going to highlight this. It's quite long. All right. And then review. The selector list is very long and could be split across multiple lines for readability. I actually agree with this. And it also not only did it review, but it also provided a suggestion on how we can fix that. Love this. I'm so glad. I'm so glad you like this. I'm here every week on Thursdays at 1 p.m. Just like, live coding and building stuff with Copilot. Okay. So I can do like apply and go to next. And it's applied the suggestion to make it a little bit more readable here. And I can do apply and go to next. Okay, the title extraction logic is a long chain expression. Consider splitting for clarity. I mean, sure. Like that one I didn't really. The author session log just is a long chain expression because there's variety. And so, you can see how you can do a review using Copilot like this. Using .html on a Cheerio element can return null if the element is empty. Check for null before assignment. Great idea. Okay, apparently there are a lot of things to improve. There are a lot of things to improve. So, but yeah, so that's how you can do an initial review, right? And I love that it created tests, to make sure that everything was working properly. And even when it was doing the iteration, when I asked it to change something, it also, updated the test for that. I would consider this a success. So be on the lookout for the blog mark package um, on NPM to convert blog posts into Markdown. I kind of want to find another blog post. So if I go to dev.to, let's just find something to see if, but I believe dev.to is also in Markdown. Um, Under the hood, I believe it's Markdown. But if I do fetch, I think it's hash fetch and then URL. Okay, it said that it did that one. Let's take a look at it. I think it's this one. Yeah, it's actually working, y'all. Wait. Hold on one second before I get too excited. What I built. Let's see. Live demo, screenshots, homepage, features, design. Oh, it did not work on this blog post. Alrighty. So here's what we're gonna do. What time is it? Oh, it's only 3 minutes left. Oh no, I'm having a lot of fun here. Try this one. Oh, the link didn't come over, Shay. Um, this was so informative, great session. Yay, I'm so happy. Thank you for joining. Nice, amazing. Hi. Hi. I'm so happy that you enjoyed this. I did too. I had a lot of fun doing this. I didn't think it would work this well, but I believe it worked this well because of the initial spec doc. You know what I mean? I believe like this told it exactly what I wanted to do, exactly how I wanted it to function. And so I think this had a lot to do with it. So let's do something. Let's stage and commit. Always stage and commit your changes. Oh, first I need to stage and then I need to commit. Great. Awesome. So something I want to show you is how to automatically generate Copilot instructions, right? So now that our project is built, so let's say you have an existing repository and you want to create Copilot instructions for it. You can do that. So you can click on this setting gear icon and click on instructions. Click on new instructions and then make sure to select .github/instructions because that's the format it needs to be. And then enter the name of the instructions files. It's just going to be Copilot instructions. Oh, I think I did it wrong. Hold on. Let's do that again. Move to trash. Let's do that again. So boop, instructions, generate instructions. Oh, it's generate instructions. So you would click on instructions and then generate instructions. And this generate instructions here. And then this will, send a prompt to the Copilot coding agent to here to analyze the code base and create some custom instructions for it. So here, analyze this code base to generate or update Copilot instructions for AI coding agents. and then it gives it some focus on discovering essential knowledge. It gives it some context on how to create these instructions. And now it's going to go ahead and do that for us. So I can just wait for my instructions to be done. Can you please write a blog? Can you please write a blog for format of spec doc? Oh, yes. What a great idea. Let's see. I'm going to write that down right now. So write a blog post on how to create / write a spec doc / a PRD, a product requirement doc. Yeah, it's essential. It's essential when vibe coding. You have to give the agent something to work with. Now, when I'm just playing with Copilot, like when I'm just trying to rebuild, like what was the last thing I rebuilt? I think it was Spotify. I'm just like doing it for fun. I'm just like, tell me the MVP details for like Spotify. And then I'm just like, build this. And so that's just for fun, right? That's just for fun to see what the agent can do and how it can, how well it can do with just a one-shot prompt. But when I'm actually trying to build something, like really build something, having a spec doc or a product requirement document is important, very important. All right. So here we go. Now we have our custom instructions, which this file is going to be so helpful when I keep working with GitHub Copilot, because it's going to give it the context of the entire code base. So let's say I use a different AI tool like Claude Code, for example. Claude will have the context of what this application is or what this repository is because of this instructions file. So here you see it has the architecture overview, context extraction strategy, development workflows, testing content extraction, product specification. This is very good information for any LLM to have when it's interacting with your repository. So I think this was a successful session. I'm going to go ahead with Copilot and figure out why the that dev.to blog post didn't work. Maybe I can try a Medium. Maybe I can try a Medium blog post and then we can skedaddle. So I'm going to do hash fetch, boop. All right, it said that it fetched it. Let's see. It should be in the output folder. 0 to launch. Okay, so it did fetch this one, right? So this one, let me just close this. So it did fetch this blog post, which is great. I do need to do some cleanups here, but overall, it's working. It's working. I am so happy, so impressed. Thank y'all for joining. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a little bit, but thank you so much for joining Rub It Up Thursdays. I hope you learned something today, and I hope you'll be back next week where we'll be hacking some more with agent mode. Tell your friends about Rub It Up Thursdays and be sure to keep up with me on LinkedIn. I've been posting a lot more often on LinkedIn actually. And when I do push this to NPM, I'll be like posting it on LinkedIn, like build this with Copilot on Rub It Up Thursday. I think it was like what, 30 minutes, a 30-minute build or something, which is really good. Let's see. So this one, yes, and Kit, I will be writing a blog post. Make sure you're following me on LinkedIn so you don't miss it. Interesting. I'll be sure to try that next time. Yes, having a spec doc is very important. Can I code and programming with da 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 da? Oh, you're asking about like specific laptop. 512GB SSD, 8 Gen RAM, 11th generation. I mean, why not? You can. You for sure can. I would ask like Copilot on github.com this question. I'm not very versed in this stuff, but I think you can. You can definitely code with that. I'm using a Surface Pro and a 2017 MacBook Pro. Yeah, so yeah, when I started coding, I had a very, very old Windows machine and it just trucked along with me as we were learning. Very interesting stuff. I'm happy that you found it interesting and thank you so much for joining. I will see you all next time for Rubber Duck Thursdays. Rubber Duck Thursday. Okay, bye.